Well, back to the Pond Lehocky Eagles post-game show. Time to wrap it up, but not before we get an injury update from our man, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, our sports doc, who joins us every week. And, Doc, a lot of guys were banged up in this game, including Dallas Goedert, and a couple cornerbacks went out in consecutive plays with Slay and Bradbury, and you had Dean going out. But the big update that we want to look at is Jalen Hurts, and he got banged up on that knee again. What did you see there, and what was the perspectives of him playing that entire game and surviving it?
Yeah, I was obviously at the game, and I was really concerned at halftime because he was limping off, and it looks like he re-aggravated the left knee. As always, he wouldn't speculate. He wouldn't share anything about it other than he's glad he has 2 weeks to recuperate. So I believe he just has a very badly strained knee, and he was very game. And obviously the second half, you really eliminate the RPO, and you become, with the running game, very one-dimensional. They couldn't really run in the fourth quarter. But, again, I don't think he tore anything, but I think that's just a chronic strain of the left knee as far as I can tell.
All right, what about the other injuries that you saw with Goedert and a couple guys that also got banged up in this game?
Goddard's injury concerns me the most. To see what happened where his arm really got pulled and he was plugged to the ground, they called it a forearm injury, but to me it looks like an elbow injury. And it could be, my concern is that he could have actually dislocated the radial head, which is one of the bones that connects to the elbow. And when that happens, there's usually a fracture of the long bone, which is called the ulna. So I'm hoping that isn't the case, but the concern, Mike, is that he was listed as questionable, went for x-rays, and then he was ruled out immediately. So if he did suffer a fracture or a complete dislocation, that typically would require actually an open reduction, which would be a surgery, and he'd be out 6 to 12 weeks. So There's a lot of speculation. There's also the Bryce Harper injury, an ulnar collateral ligament tear, which isn't quite as bad. That's more something where he could benefit from PRP or immobilization. With Jakobi, it looks like it's a recurrent foot injury as far as we can tell. And so that would be, and the corners, obviously Bradbury didn't look right. You know, he obviously was playing way off the ball, and we don't have any word on that. But I guess if I have to list them, Goedert would potentially be a season-ending injury if it was a radial head subluxation or dislocation, but we don't know. We don't want to speculate. And obviously Hurts finished the game, and then you have Nakobe Dean re-injuring his foot and going out. So there are a lot of injuries to talk about.
Doc, I just got one quick question for you. What happens at halftime? Because Jalen Hurts came out, you would never know that there was any type of injury. I heard he got an IV in Nick Sirianni's office. First off, is that sanitary? Second, is what happens to a player when they get an IV, and how does that help a knee?
If we could hypothesize that there was an element of cramping, it was, it's possible that leg was cramping up. And that's the only thing an IV would do. It wouldn't help a knee per se.
Okay.
So let's say he was cramping up, he had an element of cramping, and they ran electrolytes through the IV. That would certainly be a more benign outcome than a structural injury to the knee itself.
And, Doc, something like that real quick, with this week being able to be off, we don't really know the exact injury that Jalen Hurts does have, but is that just that knee strain? You think he's okay after just 1 week of rest, or you think this is going to aggravate him throughout the rest of the season?
That's a good question. It's hard to say. It's been a nagging injury. As you know, the last 3 weeks he injured himself in the Rams game. He's incredibly stoic and tough. He's going to be getting a lot of therapy. And he really needs, he needs the whole 2 weeks, and he didn't miss a play. So that is a great concern. As far as the MRI of his knee, we don't really know. Like, the Eagles keep things close to the vest, and they're not obligated to share. But I think he has a bad strain, and I can't really speculate. We're all hoping that he's much healthier in 2 weeks.
Hey, Doc, let's take a more positive approach on Dallas Goedert. What's the best-case scenario for him at this point in time?
Great question. It could have been, if you remember Bryce Harper in that game where he hit his funny bone, that's really alarming. I'm sure you've had that yourself, Seth, where you get banged right on the ulnar nerve at the elbow, you lose feeling, and so if it were, let's say, just a strain of the forearm of the tendon without a tear, and if it was just a tweak of the funny bone, like Harper, if you remember, he went to the dugout and they came out. So that would be the best case scenario, something we call neuropraxia, which is just a tweak of the ulnar nerve or the funny bone, which is very alarming. And if you bang your funny bone, it's very alarming to be a player. That would be the best case scenario, because if that were the case, he'd be back in 2 weeks, so that would be optimum.
All right, Doc, thank you so much. We appreciate it. They got a bye week, so we hope some players heal up, and we'll get through the rest of this, what we thought was going to be a really tough part of their schedule. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Dr. Bruce Grossinger, our sports doc, who joins us on the Pine Hockey Eagles postgame show. All right, let's just quickly look ahead here. The bye. Everybody can take a breath. Everybody can heal up. You can forget about football for maybe a week and a half. And then zero in on the big game against Kansas City in Kansas City, and then Buffalo, San Francisco, at Dallas in revenge, at Seattle, back-to-back weeks before you get a breather with those lousy New York Giants. And as we stand right now, I'm less fearful of that schedule than I was before.
Well, you should. I mean, I was saying earlier, you're looking at a team right now that is the one that knocks. The Chiefs are looking at this Eagles team, and they might be the only one, considering they beat them in a Super Bowl, to not fear them. But that's not the same Kansas City Chiefs team. All the respect in the world to their defense and their ability to get after it the way they've been able to get after it this year. But the Eagles are the team to install fear in any other team in the National Football League right now. The gauntlet is no longer the gauntlet as far as I'm concerned. The Eagles have put themselves in a phenomenal position to go into that bye week, get healthy, and come out with a fresh start.
That all starts with Jalen Hurts, and I think teams still haven't figured out how to defend or cover A.J. Brown either, so that's still going to be an issue throughout these weeks. I don't think the Chiefs will figure it out. I don't think the Bills will, or the 49ers. I looked at this schedule and I said, okay, it might be an issue, but I think the bye week comes at the perfect time. These guys are able to get some rest until they have, well, you could say a little bit of a tougher schedule than they've had.
I'm looking at the schedule. They got Buffalo at home, San Francisco at home, Dallas on the road, Seattle on the road. The fact that they're home, and Kansas City, obviously, on the road. I'm just trying to, in my mind, project, what they're going to look like through these, next 5 games, because, once you get to, week 15, 16, and 17, you got the Giants, Cardinals, and Giants again. In some of those games might be games, where you're resting by then. You may have something sewn up depending on how you play over the next 5 weeks. I would venture to say if the Eagles can come out of this next stretch, 4-1, 3-2 at the absolute worst, that they'll still be sitting, in pretty darn good position, from a conference standpoint, and the ability to secure the first round bye and home field, throughout. Obviously, I'm concerned, with the injury, especially to Dallas Goedert. A big part of what they do, not only from a blocking standpoint, but, when they decide that they want to get him involved in the pass, I think he's one of the premier tight ends in the National Football League. But I look for this team to get rested up. They're going to be chomping at the bit when they come back to get it. Kansas City, it's always a tough game in Kansas City, but then they have the benefit of coming home against, Buffalo and San Francisco, which is going to be a knockdown drag-out right here at the link at 425 for each of those games. Really looking forward to the second half of the season. You guys get rested up. I'm going to get rested up. I'm going to get me, what I call my triple S's: a little sunshine, a little sand, and a little sea water, for about 4 or 5 days, and be ready, for the final run, and hopefully all the way to Las Vegas.
Well, have a great time, and thanks for asking us to come with you. Appreciate it. All right,
I'm going on vacation to get away from your ass, Mike.
Come on, man. Wouldn't you want me hanging around?
No.
I noticed there's no G in there. No golf?
Oh, of course.
Oh, I'm just going to
It'll be
say
there.
so.
It's part of the
All right.
package.
All right, fair enough.
At least 1 or 2 days.
I was going to say, all
Very
right.
little golf, though.
It will
Yeah.
be. It will be.
I know.
mean, I've been burning the candle at both ends for quite a while. I need a little R&R.
I hear you. For Mark Farzetta and Kayla Santiago and Bill Colarulo, especially our pal Derek Gunn, who's dealing with a family emergency, our thoughts and prayers are with you, D. Gunn, and we'll see you back here hopefully real soon. Have a great week, everybody. Eagles win it 28-23 over the Cowboys. They're 8-1. So good night. We'll take care, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
My name is
Bye-bye.
Dr. Bruce Grossinger, and I'm the medical director of Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are. Dr. Grossinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675.